which is we're to discuss Sri Guru and his Grace, which is a great classic of Vaishnava literature. And it's interesting that this book has been suppressed. So if your guru or your spiritual authority told you, do not read this book, then you should reconsider the reading because perhaps your faith is too fragile for this kind of deep discussion. But if you are a disciple of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, my apologies. If you're a disciple of Govinda Maharaj also, my apologies to you. I'm trying to give a humble reading to this book, and we hope you can profit by the reading. And we welcome Suvashini Meenakshi Sundaram, Hare Krishna.
Dandavas, Ayagi Prabhu, good to see you.
Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. And we offer our Namo Namaha to all the Vaishnavas. Srila Gurudev, Srila Guru Maharaj also said, explained it. Namaha, it's interesting. It means ma, means me, and na means no. So namaha means there's no me here. There's no ahankara. So that's the idea of namaskar. We're offering to remove our ego from the situation. And speaking of ego, I'm not very happy with my camera, so I'm trying to adjust. That looks a little better. Okay, we welcome Pranashish Prabhu from the Emerald Island of Saints and Scholars, Ireland, and Scarlet Blom, I believe in Israel. Tungarasa Dasi, I think,
Yes,
is
Norwegian.
Scandinavia, Norway. Tapanandini from Merida, Yucatan, and Helen also from Ireland. Thank you all for joining us this morning. I'm going to move this. I don't like looking at myself on camera. Here we are. Okay, so I found that today is a special day. It's Vashant Panchami, the offering of flowers and celebration of beautiful spring pastimes of the divine couple Sri Radha and Govinda by their loving servitors. And here in Mexico, we celebrate the Dia de la Candelaria, which is nominally kind of the first day of spring, if you like. And here in San Miguel, we have a festival of flowers. There's the Feria de las Flores. All right, so let's read from our book. When we left off, Srila Sri Ramash was describing Daivihi Shagunamayi Mama Maya Duratmaya. It's very difficult to control Maya. Krishna says, if you attempt to cross Maya alone, it would be impossible. You must have some higher connection. And with the help of that connection, you can overcome illusion. Maya will withdraw only when she sees that you have the backing of higher potency. So this is the reason why we take shelter of Guru. Maya is very difficult to overcome. Only when you really come in touch with the plane above Maya can you really fight against Maya. Only then will Maya withdraw. We must have some shelter beyond Maya from where we can fight with illusion. We are advised to take shelter of sadhus, saints, and Shastra, scriptures. Their help comes from above, and we must accept that help from the inner core of our hearts. So this kind of gets to the question of epistemology. In philosophy, epistemology means the study of how we know what we know. How do we know what we know? So normally the intuitive position is seeing is believing. We know what we know because we see it. This is called empiric knowledge. Basically, it's the basic idea of empiric knowledge. But what Srila Sri Ramakrishna is pointing out here is that empiric knowledge is faulty. Maya means not this. So what you're seeing, it's not that. It may be something else, entirely different from what you think you're seeing. And this gets back to the idea that according to our line, or the Vaishnava point of view, knowledge is divinely revealed. You may be able to glean something of reality from your mind and senses, but this will be faulty. This will be a partial view of reality, or as Einstein put it, relativity. Reality is relative. So, according to the Vaishnava view, there are different ways of acquiring knowledge. There are 5 different aspects of knowledge in the evolution of consciousness from mundane to transcendental to Krishna conscious. So these have been defined by our acharyas as pratyaksha, paroksha, aparoksha, adhoshaja, and aprakrita. And I'd just like to take a moment to talk about this for a few seconds. So, pratyaksha, it means what you can experience directly through the senses. Empiric knowledge. Empiric knowledge comes from direct perception. So this is called pratyaksha. Now the problem is that pratyaksha knowledge, which is derived from sensory experience or observation or experimentation, it's limited. The scientific method follows the idea that pratyaksha is the most important kind of knowledge because it can be practically seen and experienced. And this is central to empiricism. It's sort of a philosophical doctrine that argues all our knowledge originates in our experience. Seeing is believing. But this can be misleading, as Srila Prabhupada points out in many of his books, because there's what we call the different doshas, 5 different defects in human perception and reasoning, which are Brahma, Pramad, Vipralipsa, Karana, Apatava, and Vipralamba. It means we have a tendency to misperceive reality, and this leads to errors in judgment. For example, we might mistake a rope for a snake or a snake for a rope. This is called Brahma, or the mistake of illusion, the dosha of misperception. And then there's pramad, which means inattention to detail, carelessness, the tendency to make mistakes because of distraction or negligence. And this may lead to different errors in our perception, even when the correct knowledge is available. Then after we've filtered nonsense into our fertile brains through a particular misconception of reality, we have a cheating propensity, which is called vipralipsa, which means even if our data is faulty or false, we will adjust the data to fit our preconceived hypothesis, either because we're afraid of looking bad or to serve some ulterior motive. So vipralipsa, the cheating propensity, is everywhere. It's the inclination to deceive ourselves or others, to maintain our own false belief or our own false authority. And this includes the distortion of facts for personal gain. Then these are all different doshas or problems in trying to acquire knowledge empirically. Another one is the fact that we have imperfect senses. And human senses are very limited. We cannot see infrared, we cannot see ultraviolet, you cannot see or hear radio waves, microwaves. There's so many things that are impossible for us to detect. Hmm. Then finally, there's vipralimba, or the tendency to misrepresent or misunderstand knowledge because of personal bias or preconceived notions. So there's the cheating propensity is one thing which will defeat our attempt to get at the truth. And the other one is we may have some ideology which tells us this can't be. And all these different things will defeat our search for truth, and therefore our knowledge is faulty and defectual. So this, as Srila Sri Ramakrishna points out, to err is human, to err is inevitable for all. He says, uh, if it were not so, we would feel no want. Our limited capacity and tendency for perfection makes room for the guide or guru. So in particular, we're interested in spiritual knowledge. Uh, Mundane knowledge, there is a plenty, but who we are beneath this superficial reality, this is more difficult to really get to without the help of a divine guide who's experienced in the subject matter of Atma. So after pratyaksha, which means my own personal perception, uh, which is faulty, we rely on what's called paroksha. And paroksha means hearing from authorities. Paroksha vad might also include theories, ideas, the reasoning that's been developed over centuries by a particular school of thought or body of authorities. So, for example, medical science, uh, alchemy became chemistry. So, but in a higher sense, this refers to scripture and revealed knowledge passed down through a disciplic succession, and we call this Shabda Praman. And that's a general idea, uh, paroksha. It may be any kind of uh, received knowledge that comes through a school or sampradaya. But in particular, we're considering the Vedas and scriptures as the most reliable source of truth. But above paroksha is what is aparoksha. It means beyond the mind and senses, beyond uh, typical schooling. And this is divine realization, the understanding or illumination of the Atma, which is available through meditation and yoga. Now, beyond this, and there's an even higher level of understanding, which is adhokshaja. And involves a perception of the Paramatma, or Supreme Spirit. Um, that's as high as most different schools of thought go, but in our particular Vaishnava line, we consider what's called aprakrita, or transcendental. Srila Prabhupada says mm, the five stages are like this. There's uh, pratyaksha, paroksha, aparoksha. Adhokshaja means beyond the perception of the senses. Then aprakrita, transcendental. From direct perception, then pratyaksha, paroksha, to take instruction from others, then realization, then beyond these senses, then aprakrita, transcendental. So Krishna is aprakrita. And it's an interesting word because prakrita, you get the word practical from that, prakrita, practical. It means material. Aprakrita means apparently material, but not. Uh, Srila Sri Ramakrishna put it like this. He says, aprakrita means prakritavat. Our Guru Maharaj explained this, 5 stages of knowledge. First stage, pratyaksha, sense perception. Second, paroksha, not direct perception of one's own senses, but recruited from the perception of another's senses. The third, some sort of peaceful zero in the deep slumber that is samadhi, Brahma samadhi. Then next, fourth dimension, adhokshaja. So this is Vaikuntha. The knowledge that may come down here to reach us, but when withdrawn, we're nowhere. We can't meet as our own right. We can't go. We're more gross. And that is very subtle conscious substance that can come down here, descend, then we can feel. When withdraws, we can't meet him. That is adhokshaja. And then aprakrita. The last stage of experience is aprakrita, very similar to the mundane. This thieving, this saying, if you look at the life of Krishna, many people are unable to conceive of Krishna as being the Supreme Personality of Godhead because we see this little baby boy stealing yogurt. What does that have to do with my ideal of the absolute? So it's apparently material, but not aprakrita. Thieving, telling lies, trespassing is there. Just like here, prakritavat. But that is the highest conception, the full freedom of the absolute personality, not curbed by any law, social law, or anything else. The autocrat is trying to absorb everything illegally, crossing all sorts of possibilities of law. That is aprakrita. It's very similar to this mundane, but it's just opposite the mundane's sweetest place, because that is meant only to satisfy Krishna, the center. The suicidal squad, aprakrita, means suicidal squad. They're up to anything for the satisfaction of Krishna. No law, no harmony you can apply there. They're all extremely dedicated to Krishna. That is aprakrita. Very similar. Na prakrita, every possibility of taking it as mundane, but it's not so, just the opposite. Hare Krishna. So all of a sudden you won't be able to swallow everything. By gradual process, you're to understand, to hear from a proper source. Then you'll find adjustment. So Srila Sri Ramakrishna, contemplating this, he says, Vyaso veti na veti va, ham vedi shuko veti, vyaso veti na veti va. Shiva says, I know the purpose of Bhagavatam. Shukadev, he knows it thoroughly. And the author of Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyas, he may or may not know. The real purpose is very difficult to conceive. So you're to put argument in this way. So I just thought it might be useful to reflect a bit on how do we know what we know? Well, we know what we know through Guru and our own personal empiric perception is really rather poor. So I'm going to continue the reading here. We're on page 13, where it says, accepting disciples and karma. So this book, of course, it's a compendium of many different questions that were put to Srila Sridhar Maharaj when he was in his 90s, after having seen the Gaudiya Math grow from a few small missions into an international Hare Krishna mission, if you like. And then after that, the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. And then the problems with the succession after Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur departed this world. What happened to the Gaudiya Math? And how did it evolve? How did the Gaudiya Math evolve into ISKCON? What happened with all the leaders? And how was the concept of guru applied from the 1930s to the 1960s and 70s? And then with the departure of His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, there were also difficulties in that mission. Who was to continue the line, who was to lead? We came to Srila Sridhar Maharaj and tried to ferret out the truth of all these things. And so those questions turned into this book. On page 13, we find accepting disciples and karma. So a devotee asks, it seems that those who accept disciples have to undergo some physical difficulty or suffering because of accepting the karma of their disciples. So this is a big question. Does the guru take on the karma of his disciples? This is also brought up by Srila Prabhupada in his talks. He says, this is Bhaktivedanta Swami. He says, you see, Krishna says, aham tam sarva papabhyo mokshashyami. So Krishna's so powerful that he can immediately take up all the sins of others and immediately make it gone. But when a living entity plays the part on behalf of Krishna, he also takes the responsibility of these sinful activities of his devotee. So to become a guru is not an easy task, you see. He has to take all the poisons and absorb. So sometimes because he's not Krishna, so sometimes there's some trouble. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has forbidden, don't make many shishyas, many disciples. But for preaching work, we have to accept many disciples for expanding preaching. Never mind, we suffer. But that's a fact. The spiritual master has to take the responsibility of all the sinful activities of his disciples. So to make many disciples is a risky job unless he's able to assimilate all the sins. Patitanam pavanebhyo. He takes responsibility for all the fallen souls. That idea is in the Bible, just like Jesus Christ takes all the sinful reaction of all people and sacrificed his life. That's the responsibility of the spiritual master because he's Krishna's representative. So Krishna takes all responsibility. Krishna's Krishna, Papa Vidham. He cannot be attacked by any sinful reaction. But a living entity may be subjected sometimes because he's small. Big fire, small fire. On a small fire, if you put some big things, then the fire itself may be extinguished. In the big fire, whatever you put, that's all right. Finished. The big fire can consume anything. So this gets back to what Srila Sridhar Maharaj was just saying. He said, you need backing. If we are to fight face to face with Maya, help from the higher agency should be our only resource. So to continue, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, this is the question. Those who accept disciples have to undergo some physical difficulty or suffering. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, physical difficulty should not be considered. Physical success also should not be considered of much value. One should not think that if a guru has a large number of disciples, he's great. One may voluntarily accept the responsibility of the spiritual life of so many disciples, but find that their improvement is not satisfactory. As a result, he may experience some disturbance. He may think, I've taken charge of their lives, but I'm not able to give them the desired improvement in their spiritual life. That is a good symptom. The Vaishnavas have no trouble for themselves, but they're troubled for others. Paraduka Dukhi. In his prayer to Sanatan Goswami, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami writes, Sanatan Goswami was always distressed upon seeing the distress of others. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj is taking a step back here from saying that we should see this in a very magical, mystical way, that the guru takes the karma and purifies their karma, like the sun purifying urine from a dirty place, or Jesus Christ accepting the sins of multitudes upon himself and thus purifying us. But he's saying it may be seen in another way, that a Vaishnava doesn't like to see others suffer. And so he steps forward as guru to try to deliver them. And he may suffer for that. Vaishnava has no mental trouble for himself, but he feels mental trouble when he sees the pain of others. It is difficult for a Vaishnava to tolerate. So just like Govinda Maharaj, for example, he would go to some other country and find that they had a preaching center next to a fried chicken place. And he might look at that and just go, good grief, how can they live, these Westerners, in such sinful place? He feels mental trouble. This is the qualification of the intermediate devotee. He has no trouble of his own, but he's troubled by the pain of others. And it's curious here that he says an intermediate devotee, because some people will say, oh, only an Uttama Adhikari can be a guru. But really, the highest level devotees, the Uttama Adhikaris, they're not so much inclined to get involved in the mundane material affairs of disciples and administer the truth to them and help them work through so many different problems. The Uttama Adhikar probably is existing on such a high plane that he's not so much interested in taking on disciples. And really, the position of guru or teacher, it's a Madhyama Adhikari position. And Uttama Adhikari may come down to that position and say, all right, well, I'm going to take on this responsibility of teaching. But the position of teaching is not so much the occupation of the highest kinds of devotees. He says, they're always sympathetic to the misery of others. This is the qualification of the intermediate devotee. That's why Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, this is the qualification of the intermediate devotee. He has no trouble of his own, but he's troubled by the pain of others. An intermediate devotee cannot ignore these things. So the spiritual master will have to digest some of the responsibility of the bad and undesirable activities of the disciple. He has the responsibility of managing them by his instruction. When a doctor has accepted a patient and the patient is in pain, the doctor may feel some trouble in his mind. I've taken charge of this patient and I can't remove his difficulty. In this way, he may feel some voluntary responsibility. So the spiritual master may may experience different kinds of suffering in different stages. Sometimes a guru may feel, I'm doing as much as I can to help this disciple. Such a guru does not take so much responsibility for his disciple. He thinks, I'm doing my duty, and treats his disciples with this openness of mind. It is just as in the case of the consulting physician and the family doctor. The family doctor cannot shake off the responsibility of caring for his patients, but a doctor from outside may say, if you like, you may engage another doctor. The consulting physician is not so much earnest for the patient. He may feel, I'm not perfect. I cannot make him pure immediately. Whether he improves is God's will. I can only do my best. From the beginning of the relationship, just as a doctor may approach his patient with this attitude, the guru may approach his disciples. The question of how much responsibility the guru takes for the disciple is a question of the attitude he takes towards his disciples in particular cases. So this is a very deep answer. Srila Sridhar Maharaj is also developing the idea of the guru-disciple relationship in terms of the, the specialist doctor and the family doctor. The family doctor takes the family doctor has a personal relationship with everyone in the family. You're seeing him for the cough, you see him for the headache, you visit him when you have gastritis, you don't feel like going to school, he writes the note. So he knows you all personally, and he takes interest in things like your diet, your personal habits, are you sleeping, and he knows you very well. But some cases are beyond his capacity. So if you have a difficult case like encephalitis or emphysema, he has to recommend you to a specialist. And, and the specialist will take professional distance. He'll look at your chart, he'll look at your analysis, he'll look at your x-rays, but he's not so personally involved with you. So again, you might see this as a distinction between the initiating guru and the instructing guru. Like the initiating guru, he's there on the scene. He's taking care of you in a very personal way. Whereas instructing guru, he may give you some tips. He may he may look at you at a particular stage in your development, show you how to advance further. Uh, Devotee asks, does the disciple's advancement depend more on the guru or on his own efforts? It's a really good question. Hmm? How will the disciple make proper advancement in following the principles of his guru? And Srila Sridhar says, this depends on the stage of realization of the disciple. Exclusive devotion must come from the disciple towards the guru. So the more dedicated the disciple is toward the guru, the better his progress shall be. It is said in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Yasya Deve Parabhaktir Yata Deve Tata Guru Tasyaite Katita Hyata Prakashante Mahatmana. The key to success in spiritual life is unflinching devotion to both the spiritual master and Krishna. Yasya Devi Parabhaktir Yata Devi Tata Guru. To those great souls who have full faith in both Krishna and Guru, the inner meaning of the scriptures is fully revealed. The Guru is Krishna's representative. We're in search of divinity, and so we must try to concentrate all our energy whenever we find a real connection with divinity. That is the key to success, because Krishna is all conscious. So the response to our devotional efforts will come from Krishna according to our attentiveness to him. He is everywhere. In the conception of infinite, everywhere there is center. Nowhere is there circumference. At every point, there may be the center. Prahlad Maharaj saw the center present everywhere. Hiranyakashipu asked him, is your God in this pillar? Prahlad replied, yes, he is there. And when Hiranyakashipu demolished the pillar, Lord Nrsingadev came out. So then the subject changes here again. Guru, absolute and relative. And this is kind of a thread that's running through the entire book, the absolute and relative position of the spiritual master, because the followers of Bhaktivedanta Swami saw him as all in all. Uh, Practically, he was like Jesus Christ, Buddha, and God rolled into one. And now the succession came, and they were asked to follow other gurus. And some people saw those gurus as all in all. We just saw the key to spiritual success is unflinching devotion to the guru. So how can you not see the guru as all in all? Still, we find there are different gurus. So how do we reconcile that? If Guru Dev is the absolute representative of God, how can there be more than one guru? And then how do we see their relative positions? And later, I don't know if it's here, but Srila Sridhar Maharaj will compare that to motherhood. He'll say, everyone thinks their own mother is the best. If you ask children, who is the most beautiful woman in the world? They will say, well, my mother. She's the most beautiful woman in the world. Now, according to each child, that has to be true. My mother's the best. She's the most beautiful. But if you make a comparative study of mothers, you'll find that one of them will be the mother of the year. I saw this Netflix movie about a boy who has cerebral palsy, and the mother sacrifices everything to go to India and work with a Dr. Kumar to solve his problem. But she loses her job, her husband, her money, her house, everything. So such a mother could be a candidate for Mother of the Year. Then again, there are mothers who do the absolute minimum. Uh, the famous uh, Russian artist, I think he was, Chaim Sutin. I think it was Chaim Sutin. Uh, when he was a little boy, his mother was a prostitute, so she would tie him to the bed and give him a bottle of absinthe with a rag in it to suck on to pacify him. And so as he sucked alcohol into his system from the tender age of 6 or 8 months, he became an alcoholic. That's a different mother. She's also a mother. If you ask Chaim Sutin, tell us about your mother. Oh, she's the best. She's the most beautiful. But just as there may be gradation in the relativity of motherhood, there's also gradation in the relativity of the spiritual master. So the devotee is asking, can you explain this concept of the absolute and relative position of the spiritual master? Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He says, by the special will of Krishna, Gurudev is a delegated power. If we look closely within the spiritual master, we will see the delegation of Krishna, and accordingly, we should accept him in that way. The spiritual master is a devotee of Krishna, and at the same time, the inspiration of Krishna is within him. These are the two aspects of Gurudev. He has his aspect as a Vaishnava, and the inspired side of the Vaishnava is Guru. On a fast day, like Ekadashi, he himself does not take any grains. He conducts himself as a Vaishnava. But his disciples offer grains to the picture of their guru on the altar. The disciples offer their spiritual master grains even on a fast day. The disciples concerned with the delegation of the Lord, the guru's inner self, his inspired side. The inspired side of a Vaishnava is Acharya or Guru. The disciple marks only the special inspired portion within the Guru. He's more concerned with that part of his character. But Gurudev himself generally poses as a Vaishnava. So his dealings toward his disciples and his dealings with other Vaishnavas will be different. This is a Chintya Beta Beta, inconceivable unity in diversity. So maybe I went off a little bit on a tangent in my comment there because I was talking about the relativity of different gurus, but here the question is Sakshat Darit Venas Master Shastri. We're supposed to see Guru as God. So is Guru God? God always? Srila Sridhar Maharaj answers this by saying, well, the inspired side of a Vaishnava is Acharya or Guru, but the Vaishnava himself will never represent himself as God. So the question was, what's the absolute and relative position of the spiritual master? There may be imitation, and there may be deviation. Both are possible. For ulterior motives, one may make a trade of guruship. Now, we see this today. There are many who understand that in order to survive, it's necessary to make some kind of a business. People like being guru, but they see they need some financial backing. And the way to do that is sort of make a trade of guruship. You see this in the holy places also, where a particular holy place becomes a business, like a tourist business. For ulterior motives, one may make a trade of guruship, just as in the case of the caste Goswamis and the Sahajyas, imitationists. For some reason or other, one may pose as a guru, but the symptoms of a real guru are given in the scriptures. Shabde parecha nishnatam brahmani upashamashrayam. A bona fide spiritual master must be conversant with the conclusions of the Vedic literature, Shabde, and fixed in realization of the supreme truth. Brahmani upashamashrayam. He must take shelter of the highest spiritual thing. Some people will take advantage of the idea, Sakshat Dari, Guru is God, and they will say, okay, well, look, I'm Guru. How do you know? Because my Guru said so. My Guru said, this man will be the next Guru. So I'm Guru. And who is Guru? Sakshat Dari. Guru is God. So you must give me money because I am God. This is a bit of a shallow argument. Srila Sridhar Maharaj is saying you should be conversant in the Shastra beyond that. Anyone can say, I am Guru. He is not Guru. And so we see this today. When I do research, I did a little research on the internet to be able to remember what were the different five doshas and so on. Sometimes my memory fails me. And I look at things on the internet. What did Sridhar Maharaj say? And as I do a search, I'll come up with all these strange sort of internet trolls telling people like that, I'm Guru, he is not Guru. So anyone can say this. Imitation is always possible. But the scriptures give the criterion for the selection of a real Guru, and the real Guru will extract the meaning of the scripture. Guru and Shastra are interdependent. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, don't rely simply on what somebody says. Have a look at the Shastra. Have a look at the Srimad Bhagavatam. Have a look at the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Read this book, Sri Guru and His Grace. Guru and Shastra are interdependent. One will help another for our edification. The scriptures say we must read the scripture under the guidance of a proper professor, a Vaishnava Guru, Acharyavan Purusho Veda. The Guru personifies the Veda. So the scriptures depended on the spiritual master. These are sort of a check and balance system. Now, can somebody defeat those checks and balances? Sure. But even then, we rely on our own personal inspiration, perhaps, to help us get through the forest. And who is a spiritual master? The scriptures will explain. So they are interdependent. Sadhu and Shastra are both necessary. They are the active and passive agents. It's a really good explanation. Devotee says, can you explain why Krishna appears in so many different gurus? Why must Krishna appear again and again? Can't we learn everything we need to know just by reading Bhagavad Gita? These are a number of different questions here. Why does Krishna appear in so many gurus? Why again and again? Why not just once? Can't we just learn everything by reading the Bhagavad Gita? What is the need for constant revelation? Don't the old books contain all the truths we need to know? Sri Maharaj says, in Bhagavatam, Krishna says, first, I transmitted Vedic knowledge to this world through Brahma, and that was entrusted to his disciples, the four Kumaras, Marichi, Ankira, and other sages. The knowledge was first invested in them and later in books. First, it was presented in the form of sound, not script. Gradually, it became fixed in writing. In the beginning, it descended directly through sound from one man to another by lip to ear. No script or writing was invented at that time, but knowledge was contained in the form of sound, passing through the ear to the mouth and again to the ear of another. Gradually, it became lost in connection with a mediator. Sometimes it becomes lost and disfigured, distorted. And then again, the Lord feels the necessity of appearing in this world. Yada yada hi dharmasya. So Srila Sri Maharaj answers the question, well, can't you just read the Bhagavad Gita? Why do you need constant revelation? Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I come to give constant revelation. Yada yada hi dharmasya. I have to reestablish the Dharma. Sometimes Krishna comes himself. And sometimes he sends a normal thinking man to reinstate the standard of true religion. Krishna says, this karma yoga that I've spoken to you, Arjun, I spoke first to Surya. And from Surya, it was passed down from generation to generation. And so it has become mutilated and disfigured. Again, I'm speaking that very same thing to you today. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains why this is constantly being renewed and why there are different avatars and acharyas. The enervating plane gradually erodes the truth. The enervating plane gradually erodes the truth. Enervating, it means to make something weaker. So this plane is the plane of misconception, and truth becomes distorted and enervated by the passage of time and by the corruption of different intermediate persons. The truth is bright when it first appears, but gradually, with the contact of this enervating plane, it becomes weak, disfigured, and demoralized. And so Krishna appears from time to time to rejuvenate it and bring about a renaissance. Wow. Well, I think I'm going to stop the reading there. I don't want to bore everyone. I know that's a lot of reading to absorb. And I'd just like to see if there's any conversation or a question that could be put forward. That's really an immense amount of transcendental information to absorb. Anyone help me? I'm all alone here.
Mahayogi, this is Haripriya. There was just one thing that I thought when you were reading about the Guru's loving kindness and care for his devotees, and our responsibility to our Guru to try and fulfill his wishes and desires for us in response in a loving, devotional way. So our responsibility is to try and alleviate the Guru of the trials and tribulations of human life that are imposed on him by imperfect devotees, and try to fulfill that desire within him for us to be better devotees in a loving way.
It's a lovely reflection. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahayogi.
No,
Hare
thank you. That's a lovely reflection. It's hard for me to keep speaking so long. My voice is drying up. I was having a look in the chat. Somebody put something in there. Can I see what it said? Different messages. Dandavats, best wishes. Which page? Yeah, Scarlet Blum. Is she there? This morning we were reading from I didn't get very far. I was reading from page 12.
I got it. Thank you.
Oh,
I got
good.
my answer. Thank you.
I was reading from page 12 to page 16, more or less. Well, I'll put this in the chat. We were reading from 12 to 16. There you go. All right. Yeah, I don't want to be too pedantic and just read and read because it bores people. But anyways, again, I'd like to thank all of you for creating this little forum where we're reading from Sri Guru and His Grace. And thank you to Adwai up in Cooley, Ireland. I can tell you're in Cooley, Ireland by the light. The light behind you is kind of, it has that eerie northern feeling to it, you know. So I know you're not in Italy. You must be in Ireland. How are the cows?
You can unmute yourself. Yeah, it's muted. And also Tapana Nandini has a question too. So.
No, the cows are good. The cows are good. I mean, I do what I can there. You know, it's not the ideal place for them, but we do what we can.
You adopted a cow.
We adopted a cow, but the cow now is in a sanctuary. So that cow, Scooby, is actually doing really great. He's having the life. He's very happy, and all the other cows there love him. So we're very, very, very happy for him, you know. And if we managed, you know, to do something like that, it's something, you know, to look back and say, hey, we saved the cow.
Bravo. Tapanandini.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat.
Okay. Can you read the question?
What can we do in our daily day to keep going?
What can we do in our daily day to keep going? It's a very good question. I think everyone wants to know the answer to that, you know. I try to follow what I was taught by my Guru Maharaj, you know. So he said, take the holy name of Krishna. He said, meditate on the Gayatri mantra, follow the 4 regulative principles, no mediating gambling, illicit sex or intoxication, and try to be compassionate with others, especially the Vaishnavas. Try not to offend other Vaishnavas. It's so easy to have a difference of opinion with somebody and then create, dissension, and then take that dissension to a higher level and go to war over trivial things. So keep Krishna in your heart, keep Guru Dev in your heart, water your Tulsi plant, maintain your garden, you know. Srila Srinivas liked, oil your own machine, right? Nijera Cherka Tail Dao in Bengali. It's oil. In the days of Gandhi, everyone was supposed to spin their own cloth with a spinning wheel, a machine. So don't tell someone else, hey, your machine is squeaking. Put some oil on that. No, oil your own machine. So take care of your own business, you know. Don't look into the heart of someone else and say you have a problem. Solve your own problem first. Physician, heal thyself. The big one is anger. I gave Adwai an exercise once, and it worked for me. I said, because I found myself, I was traveling to first to Russia and then Thailand. You have to go through all these security checks. They check your papers. And I found myself getting angry. And at one point I thought, why? Don't be angry. They're going to do this. They're going to look at your papers. They're going to push you through here and there. Anger only hurts you. It only destroys your own liver. The people in immigration, it doesn't affect them if you're angry. They're used to it. So I thought, I'm going to do an exercise, and I'm going to see if I can go 24 hours without getting angry, even mentally. Not physically angry, but even mentally. If I come to the point where I'm thinking, mentally, I'll try to dissolve that before it gets there. And I did it. I went through 24 hours without getting angry. I thought, this is great. Let me try it again. And I kept that going for like 3 weeks until I had a major blow up with somebody, over something really trivial. But I got it. I kept it going for 21 days. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says, Trinadapi sunichena tarodapi suhishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sada hari. Our Guru Dev is pleased if we follow that instruction. He is. He may look at some of the things in your life and just shake his head and think, what? That's not really what I wanted. But okay, Kirtaniya Sada Hari is going on. This person is trying to take the holy name of Krishna and live a humble life without offending other devotees. Because in the name of preaching, we may say, well, I'm a big preacher and I don't like the way you're doing it. And you're doing it wrong. I'm going to do it better. Because Bhaktisiddhanta says, sadhu is one who cuts. So I'm going to cut you. That's not really what we're going for, Govinda Maharaj, if you ever asked him, what should we do? After one or two things that he might tell you, he would come back to that. Be humble, peace. That's it. Peace. So, look at the Shikshastakam. Chant the Gayatri mantra, reflect on the ontology of our line, reflect on the Shikshastakam, take the holy name. And then in your personal dealings, not that you're a coward, and we avoid conflict at all costs because we're such cowards. Not really the idea. Sometimes we have to stand up for what we believe in, but to constantly call other people out because they're not up to the same level that you're on, you know, you don't have to do that. You can try to be compassionate with other people. They'll thank you for that too. You'll have more friends, you know. So that's, I don't know. That's what I try to apply. I remember seeing an interview with the Dalai Lama, you know, and they asked him, so what about anger? You know, Dalai. Do you control your anger, Mr. Lama? I don't know, what do they call him? They call him Dalai or they call him Lama, you know. Maybe they just call him Mr. In Mexico, we have a tea called Dalai, which is to relax your nerves. You know? So they asked the Dalai Lama, do you have a problem with anger? He said, well, you know, on a big level, like publicly, no. You know, if I get invited to to give a conference and someone insults me or something, no, I don't get angry with people like that. But personally, yeah, you know, I get angry with my servant. I get angry with the people who I'm working with, and it's a terrible thing. So, Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajaguna, Krishna says, watch out for the anger. Try to control that. That's all I can say. I don't really know. You know, I'm not an expert on anything. I know this book, right? I met Srila Sridhar Maharaj. I knew him. I loved him. I thought he was great. You know, if I do research, oh yeah, what did Srila Sridhar Maharaj say about? I was looking for karma and the guru. I'll see all these things other people put up there. You know, so and so said this, and so and says that. I don't care about that. I love Srila Sridhar Maharaj. I love Govinda Maharaj. I love all of you, you know. But in Mexico, we have a saying, amor de lejos, amor de pendejos. It means far away love. It's not really, you know, long distance relationship is kind of a relationship of, it's a fool's game. But my wife, Aurora, by the way, she loves all of you. She sends her love. And she's always telling me, hey, call up Pranashish. Call him up. Say hello. Call up Tapanandini. Call up Adwai. Say hello. Call up, hey, say hello to Subhashini. What happened with that Raseta, the recipe she gave us for dal? She gave us a really good recipe. Why don't you cook that? You know? And I'm terrible at all of those things. I'm very, very bad. I'm a social recluse. But, you know, kindly, all of you who, you know, are listening now, you gave us this little platform where we can kind of say hello to each other. And I read something from a book. You seem to like it. So we'll try to keep it going. All right.
Thank you, Mahayogi
All
Prabhu.
right. Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, everybody. I'll see you next time.
Thank you. My dandavats to all the devotees. Thank you very much for joining. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm
To all, Hare Krishna, Dandavat.
dandavats.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavats, everyone.